Hello, and welcome back to the DayLuna Human Design Podcast with your host, Dana and Shayna. Today, we are interviewing a special guest that we have really been looking forward to because we have been reading her books and using her oracle decks forever. And I know a lot of you listening have as well. It is Rebecca Campbell, and we discovered that she is a 1-3 splenic projector, which was so cool to discover because we have been really curious for a while what her design was. So, in this conversation, we talk about her new book, Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. We talk about her oracle decks and the impact that they've made on our spiritual journey. We talk about navigating challenges and moments of initiation in our life and really bringing our soul into that experience. And I'm just really honored that we get to share this conversation with you all. I think you're going to love it.
Yes. So if you don't know who Rebecca is, Rebecca Campbell is a transformational author, mystic, artist, speaker, teacher, and podcaster, supporting people to connect with their soul. She's the founder of the Inner Temple Mystery School and Oracle Card Reader Certification. Rebecca's mission is to weave the sacred back into everyday life. Her books, oracles, songs, mystery school, trainings, events, retreats, and 3 Steps to Living a Soul-Led Life have transformed hundreds of thousands of people's lives all around the world, including ours. We love her decks, we love her books, and she's just such a beautiful channel. And her wisdom that she shares just in everything that she puts out there has been so transformative for us. So we hope that you love this conversation. We love her, and we know that you will too.
Okay, so without further ado, let's welcome on our special guest for the day, Rebecca Campbell. We are so grateful to be meeting and to be having this conversation. Honestly, we've been looking forward to this, so thank you so much for being here. And I'd love to start out by just asking you, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I'm feeling really excited actually. First of all, it's
Nice.
spring.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been through a big, like, inner winter period of my life, just generally. And so I'm feeling
Yeah.
this like new energy bubbling up, and I can feel the flowers coming out. That always inspires me. And I'm also so excited to talk to you, to both of you, because I love human design and yeah, can't get enough of it. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, obviously we're human design nerds, but we love your teachings, we love your books, and I know a lot of our audience is going to be just thrilled to get to hear from you in this space and talking a bit about your human design as well. And we're having a projector party. All three of us are projectors.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, which is
So we're
so
just gonna
fun.
be silent waiting for the invitation, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
do you recognize me? Do you recognize me? But it's amazing. It's always so cozy getting to meet with projectors and dive
Mm,
deep. And I really think that so much of your insight is so obvious to people when they're using your decks or when they're reading your books. And I think for a lot of people, your decks are a great entry point to spirituality for their friends or their family who aren't spiritual.
mm,
They're like, "Oh, let's pull a card." And
mm.
you get into the door, right? It's like that invitation um happens and people learn from you even if they're not necessarily fully open to some of these more deeper aspects of the human experience or spiritual experience. So I think it's really beautiful how now that I know that you're a projector, how your work, like your books or your cards or whatever, is kind of doing that energetic work for you of like people showing them to people. And then it's like this natural
Like
invitation
guiding you
happening.
into it. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
guiding
guiding
Oh,
you
people
into it.
that's such a cool way of seeing it. Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, because each of the cards are like transmissions of energy, but yeah, it's like they just do it on their own. Like I don't have to like
Yeah, you don't have to
talk
be
to
like, "Are
someone,
you ready to receive
convince
this
someone.
message?"
Yeah. It's like, I'm just
Exactly.
playing. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
So
that's
cool.
really interesting because when I never like set out to create oracle cards. I loved them, used them since I was very young, and I'm aesthetics are really important to me. I was a creative director before I do the work I do now, and so I did want to do an oracle deck, but it wasn't like a ulterior motive. I wasn't just like, yes, I have to do it. I was just like, oh, that'd be fun when I got asked to do it. And then I just keep getting asked to do it. I'm like, what? How have I got so many decks? And I love creating them. But that's been a perfect example of like, wait for the invitation. Because my publisher is constantly saying, can you do another deck? Can you do another deck? And there's always more ideas. And they're just like, for me, they're like subject areas to like swim around in versus like, yeah, with a book, it's like, I think as a projector, I guess I get the invitation from spirit to write the book, but it feels a little more like I have to like, it's like this conscious thing that I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm.
We just wrote one book on human design, and it was our first
Mm.
book and our only book
Mm.
so far. And it was such a profound like life journey, life lesson, just a
Yeah.
whole new experience for us. And our publisher reached out to us, invited us to write it as well. And we were like, really?
Mm.
And when we were
Awesome.
writing it, we definitely felt that energy of it, just like, this is so meant to be, like the universe is working through you there. And then to see your book
Mm.
out into the world, and people, when they see it at their library or whatever, they've invited themselves into that portal and into that wisdom. It's been
Mm.
just in a small way for us, seeing that book go out into the world and be in people's homes. And we see pictures of
Mm.
it like in their living room with their kids or in their
Mm.
local library. It's just so special. And I was thinking about your decks, and in our own personal experience, we're such big fans of your work, and we have been for such a long time. And I feel so deeply grateful to be able to be connected to your decks and the insight they
Mm.
give, and the intimate journey that I have with my own decks and your words and the words that you channeled. I was curious to ask you, how has that felt for you to see these, where you've just played and downloaded, and just, it's been so fun for you to create them, but then to see them go off and have their own intimate journey with so many individuals
Mm.
in such a powerful and deep way. How has that been for you to see that?
Yeah, it's been really amazing actually, and kind of surprising too, because I think in my own mind before, like when I first started creating Oracle decks, like my first one, the Work Your Light deck, I was like, I didn't expect it to be, I just wanted to do it because I wanted to do it. And I thought that Oracle decks were more woo woo than self help books. That was what I thought in my mind. And it's blown my mind how many people embrace decks. I think decks are easier, like it takes less of a commitment, to be honest.
Mhm.
um, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like I can just pull a card today and maybe I'll read the guidebook, but it's like, and you can do it with a friend. And so you're so right that they're more of an entry point. And I think when we're on a journey as well, like they can be a companion and a way of bringing things into the physical, which I love. But in my mind I saw it as more out there, but it's
Totally.
definitely not the case. Like people, I
Yeah.
think, go for cards more than they do books these days.
Yeah, and you would think that collectively it would be seen as like witchcraft, or,
Yeah.
like that people would see it as taboo to pull a card,
Mm.
but it's that social aspect that I think
Mm.
that uh makes people a little bit more comfortable,
Mm.
who wouldn't
Mm.
be comfortable, like, buying a book that would help them, or
Mm.
going on a, spiritual experience, or
Mm.
whatever, like they're closed off. I think that card, it's like, yeah, it's less of a commitment, it's more fun, but then it's so deep, and it's the
Mm.
words that you've channeled and the messages that they receive. I think it really, yeah, it creates that intimate relationship for people with
Mm.
the people that they're pulling the cards with, and then also on their own. Like once they start pulling their own
Mm.
cards, it is that
Mm.
intimate. And then everybody has their favorite deck, right? It's like that intimate,
Mm.
like this deck really speaks to me right now. And then this deck really
Yeah.
speaks to me now that I'm in this different era of my life.
Mm.
So I think it's just really beautiful how you can write something or channel something and not be responsible for like somebody else's spiritual relationship with it. Like you can just
Mm.
trust that to go out and know that it's going to impact people's lives. And then to see it, it's
Mm.
just been really cool. I think it's really cool to
Mm.
observe. But obviously, we
Mm.
don't have a deck. We don't know the
Mm.
process of
Mm.
creating that. I'm sure it is really fun. Um, but then you have multiple books. So I'm
Mhm.
curious, when it comes to your creation process and writing your books and what you're wanting to write about,
Mm,
How has that felt, I guess from like your first book to now you have a new book? How has
mm.
that like writing creation process felt for you? Has it felt really organic, or
Well,
has it felt like something that you have to really had to give a lot of grace to?
I think both. My first book, I knew was being called to write that book for quite a long time, but it was like a whole process for me to like actually do it. Um, and I think what helped me the most, particularly with the first book, but I do it with all my books, is writing to myself rather than and maybe this is a projector thing. You'll be able to tell me, or a splenic projector, which I am. I don't know, but yeah, for me, if I was never comfortable with writing like as a expert, or like I am telling you the answer to blah 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 blah. My work is all about connecting to the wisdom within, right? We've all got the answers, and we're attracted to people on our path who have resonance, who are going to help like open doors to us, because we're but that's part of us being drawn to them, and so what really unlocked the door for me was, first of all, like knowing who I was writing to, which was a version of me. So for the first book, Light is the New Black, it's all about getting the courage to connect in with the call of your soul, and the fact that our soul is always calling every moment of every day. Don't wait to find the finite answer. Just like start acting now, like develop a relationship with it. And it definitely also touches on this like inner call to be, the word I used when I wrote that book is like, oh my gosh, I'm a light worker. I'm here to grow individually and walk my path, but also like with the planet, the collective in the state that it is. I want to be part of the healing of humanity, which is not my job. It's not your job. It's our job. And so I knew that's who I was writing to, but I was writing to myself because I was that person, and for so long in a spiritual closet, so long feeling like waiting for the invitation. I was waiting to feel ready before I did what deep down I knew what lit me up. I knew what the direction I was being called in, but I was waiting for this step-by-step plan before I did anything. So yeah, so my process is it was really going into nature, walking in nature, surrounding myself with beauty like flowers, roses, and writing for a set amount of time every day. And it might have been when I was working in a full-time job when I started writing the book. It was just 10 minutes a day that I would write for. And then as I then devoted my life to my writing, it was obviously I could spend a little bit more time to it, but I knew who I was writing to. I was writing to the 14-year-old me, the 20-year-old me. Yeah, so it's like you're writing straight to someone's heart rather than, because we're all connected. And I find that if you write to a version of you, or someone that who maybe is going through a difficult time or struggling with something, you can feel it in the heart, versus like if you're saying, here is the 3 steps and it's, this is the answer. And that's just, I guess, as a projector, my process. There's many
Mhm.
people who like they actually have the answers.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm curious to ask you like about your origin story in general. You mentioned that you were working a like 9 to 5 job or a corporate job
Mm.
before you started writing. I'd love to hear about that transition and how like what brought you to this. And did as a young person, a 14-year-old, a 20-year-old, did you kind of hold this vision for yourself that you're living now?
Yeah, kind of. Like I couldn't figure it out, but I knew I was very drawn to, I call them the mysteries, the journey of the soul, spirituality, but I couldn't quite see how to make that my life. And so I knew creativity and creating was like my how I was going to do things. I saw myself having books, having like creating beautiful things.
Mm.
Um, but I didn't quite know how to. So I ended up, worked as an art director and a writer, and then a creative director in advertising. So my job was to come up with ideas and write. So, and it was great training because I worked with artists, I worked with illustrators, I worked with photographers, film people. And I also would have to write, 200 headlines to have one chosen, you know? So it was good,
Wow.
really good training. It was cutthroat, it was hardcore, it was making it a man's world. There were so many things that were toxic about it, but it taught me a lot. And I think it made me strong when it comes to believing in my ability to create and come up with ideas. And I mean, super sensitive, but I'm definitely more strong having had that experience of like not taking if someone rejects an idea, not taking that personally, or holding too
Mm.
tightly to an idea, being like, oh, maybe there's another way of expressing this. So like noodling with words until it's like you got the resonance, you're like, that's it.
Mm.
um so yeah, but nature was always a big part of my creative process. When I worked in was in Sydney and then London, but my first job was in Sydney. I would walk along the beach in the morning, and I'd get my best ideas there, and then I'd go into the office and like I'd write up my ideas, but I'd done my idea work, and I'd have to like sit there at my desk because I was getting paid to work, normal day. But yeah, that I realized like that was definitely my process. And as a projector too, because you worked in a creative team, and which I loved, and I had amazing people I worked with, but I struggled to come up with ideas with someone. I was really good at fleshing them out with someone or fleshing out someone else's. But I discovered, and I know this about myself now, particularly like I've kind of gone through different iterations with my work, as in like having a team and then a big team and then not having a team. And, and because I really like, um, I I get burnt out if I'm surrounded by people too long in a day and just in
Mhm.
back-to-back meetings. Um and I do my best work on my own. I really do.
Mhm.
And when I say on my own, I'm like, it's with spirit, it's in nature, it's quiet. I have to have I mean, I can have music playing and stuff, but it has to be like an inner commune. And I think when I discovered I was a projector and what that means and the energy, and even a splenic projector, and you can tell me more about this,
Mhm.
but just having that body response when something's true or whatever, yeah, that's really helped me understand my process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
interesting.
fascinating. We're looking at your chart as you're speaking
Yeah.
and we're like, yes, yes, yes. And it's so cool, because yeah, being a splenic projector, you really it's about the body and where is the body being drawn to in that present moment. And like you have so much openness. So you're someone who's really sensitive to other people's energy. And all projectors are, but you really have a lot of openness. And then you have single
Mm,
definition. So it tells us that even though you're so empathetic to other people, and projectors can really guide other people and take other people in so deeply. So what you're saying of helping other people workshop their ideas, still at the end of the day, with you having single definition, it's like, but I need to create my own thing on my own and in my own space, in a place where my body feels good. And your whole cross of incarnation, which is like the life purpose energy that you're here to be in all of the things that you
mm,
do, you have a really special one. It's called the Right Angle Cross of Eden. And it's
mm,
all about poetry and writing and expressing
mm,
from the heart and expressing in that deep emotional way and helping us understand life, like the experiences of life, positive and challenging, that help us grow on the spiritual plane. So it just seems like that energy is just so
mm,
prevalent in everything that every word you speak, it just is emanating out of who you are. I'm curious to ask
mm,
you about like being in the spiritual closet when you were younger,
mm.
and did you always feel this connection to nature and to life and all of these things? But where were you ever recognized for that before coming into writing?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I I did well with my career, but it was hard work, and I often felt like I wasn't quite getting the acknowledgement. Not that I necessarily deserved. It wasn't like I'm like, why can't, but it was just like, oh, I know I'm here for a reason. Like it shouldn't be this hard, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some bits that did really come naturally. It's not like it didn't come naturally, but it wasn't like when I really stepped into like bringing the mystical in, with my creativity. it was so much easier. Now, there were things that were harder, like being visible in the world and sharing my voice and all of that. Like that was not easy for me. But as far as like it was like this energy that was kind of like back here. It was like almost like a dam that the walls
Mm.
were up or whatever. It had been building for a long time, and then it kind of came like that. And then I think
Wow.
I love what you shared about the Eden cross, was it? Eden
Hmm.
cross, yeah. Because
Yes.
I think like I'm little by little, and I think we do this as we grow, like becoming more and more of who I am. And I think what you
Exactly.
described there in the poetic and the all of that is basically this book, Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. Like
Hmm.
it's basically that writing,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But that writing, and it came easy. Um, and fast when it came, but it was over a long period of time because I was going through huge change and transformation, and the whole world was too. And
Right.
so it's like it's the most potent writing for me, but it was the writing process that um I I didn't know what I was writing until after I wrote it. Whereas the
Wow.
others, I knew who I was writing to. It was like I'd lived it, and then I was kind of writing in retrospect. Whereas this one, I was merging with, I guess, nature, cosmos, goddess, great mother, and receiving and kind of writing through that. So it was a very projector book.
Yeah. Wow. So let's dive into it. I'd love to hear about Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. What are some of the main, inspirations or takeaways of this book?
Mm. Well, it really is a book for times of change, which is, oh my gosh, we're all living through that collectively. But I think
Absolutely.
individually, so many of us are too. I wrote this book while I was going through some really big midlife transits, which I think we all go through. It's slightly different for each of us. And so, yeah, really discovering who I was becoming. Who I am deep down beyond who the world told me to be or what I was praised to be. Um, I also wrote it through a period where I became a mum twice, and so postpartum. I think also a bit of perimenopause, and so it was really a book of extreme change. It's a book of rebirth, of transformation, and then also just really embracing the depth of who you are.
Mm. I'm like, I have chills as you're sharing. I just had a
Mm.
baby 7 months
Mm.
ago. And
Oh.
so I definitely, with this cross of Eden, we're talking about your biggest energies, right? The energies that people need from you the most and that are
Mm.
grounding for you, but they also stretch you. And within this is this it's called the gate of crisis. And that sounds
Mm.
bad, but it really is about experiencing things in life that are challenging or that stretch us, but navigating through them and getting the wisdom out of them, getting the
Mm.
like the most juice that you can versus numbing it or ignoring it or turning the other way or pretending it doesn't exist. Like really navigating and transitioning and becoming
Mm.
something new on the other side of that portal and learning the lessons along the way. And gate 6 here, your sun gate, it's like bringing that intimacy to that, like truly talking about um the things that are real and that are so human and so intimate, right? Like anybody reading your words or learning from your story or meeting you in person, that sense of I'm here with you. I'm human and let's navigate through life
Mm.
together and
Mm.
see what we learn, see what wisdom there is, get the most out of it that we can and not just like be on autopilot until we die and then on to the next. It really is like, how can we have this feeling of maybe a loss of innocence, but then through that creating heaven on earth, like creating that
Mm.
feeling um of like I've worked to build something that feels worth it, feels worthy of
Mm.
what I've been navigating. And so it's really beautiful because when you're in the muck, when you're in that messy middle, it's like, where am I going and why am I going? And like, how do I get through this messy middle?
It's
And
so true. And especially like the stage of postpartum you're at, like it's like, I remember when and like this book is like literally it's like I wrote it through parts of labor even like
oh
where
my
I don't know
gosh.
if you like I remember like
Wow.
the lead up to when you're going to have a baby, whichever way you're going to have it, it's like I am very pregnant, and particularly your first, it's like, oh my gosh, my whole life is about to change. It hasn't changed yet, but and you're approaching slowly, slowly, slowly. And it's like you're at the edge of this cliff. And I remember writing this piece, I think it ended up in the book, of like, um, um, the to-do lists are not going to help you where you're going anymore. And I think this is such a common thing for like when you're about to have a baby, you're like, have to get all the things ready, have to get all the things
Oh
ready.
my
But the
God.
thing about like motherhood, it's true about life as well, but particularly having kids is you realize like change is the one certain thing. We know this about life. It is the one certain thing. And we try and control it. We try and micromanage it. And having little ones, oh my God, the moment you think that you got it mastered, whether it's sleeping through the night, whether it's what they eat, whether it's like, I don't know, whether they can climb out of their cot. My daughter, she's 2, just literally 2 weeks ago, she appeared beside my bed in the middle of the night waving, going, "Hey." And so all of a sudden, it's like everything changes, and this is I mean, I think this is the thing that I struggled the most with becoming a mum, lack of control, not being able to
Mm.
control anything in my life, and then looking at the world and being like, how I can't control that. And what is this planet that we are leaving behind? And it's huge. And I think that that initiation of motherhood, and it's not just motherhood, it's we all go through different initiations. But when we're not who we were before, but we're also not who we're becoming. We're somewhere in between. It takes huge courage to embrace that, to release your grip on the certainty of who you were. But we know that's the only way transformation can happen if we
Mm.
say yes to the unknown. And I don't think we're taught that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I definitely not, right? That you just said that so beautifully. And yeah, it's that feeling like you said of being pushed off a cliff or
Mm,
being on the edge of a cliff, and then once you're like off the cliff, you're scrambling to try to grab onto anything, like any
yeah.
branch. But there's this analogy in human design with the pressure that we can feel to want to control or um force something to move forward or force ourselves to have to understand something. And this is coming from the root center or the head center, which for you, both of those are undefined, which is the same for me.
So
And
what does that mean?
it means that you can have this pressure to like, I need to understand this now and I need to
Mm,
have the answers. I need to get my shit figured out. I need to have control. And this pressure of like, what can I do about it? Like, what can I be
yeah.
doing to make this move forward, to make this happen, to fix this problem, you know, whatever. So that's the like the not self there. It's this pressure to want to control. And we're so conditioned to micromanage everything. And so human design really offers up like when you're feeling that pressure to watch your life like you're watching a movie and to let the pieces fall where they're meant to fall versus trying to like grab a piece and be like it goes here
Mm,
and this piece goes here and you know what, I'm going to
mm,
force this piece here and what is this picture, I need to muscle it into being so I can see what this
mm,
picture is instead of sitting back and letting the pieces fall where they're meant to fall, and then you can see, oh aha, this is the picture.
mm.
So it's helpful for me to remember that when I'm feeling so overwhelmed by this middle point. But also it's like I'm trying to release that too, right? I'm trying to just like
Mm,
be in this time because I know a lot of times for postpartum specifically in this initiation of giving birth and all of that, for me, it's definitely been a a fog that I feel like I'm walking through, like a mist that like, oh, I see
mm,
something over here. And then as I move past it, it's like, okay. Um, and so I think that that really represents though for a lot of people, whatever initiation, that middle point that they're in, um, there's just so much unknown and that's so unsettling. Like being okay with being uncomfortable, like finding
mm,
a way to feel comfortable in that uncomfortable feeling, having that
mm,
acceptance that's also reflected in your chart, having gate
mm,
60. So it's gate 60 is all about acceptance and helping people overcome roadblocks by accepting where they are right now and
mm,
understanding how to transcend things through being in this present
mm,
moment instead of
mm,
like constantly seeing like how can I get past this present moment. So
mm,
it's really beautiful. I mean, so many of the things that are in your chart are around depth, are around um, sharing the meaning in the things that we intimately feel, and also going into things and finding what's missing. Like, what are the inadequacies? What are the things like? Yes, this is helpful, but it's missing this. Like, then it would be
mm,
even more helpful.
mm,
So providing ways for people to transit, to move forward, um, in a way that's fully fleshed out or fully supportive, but also being present with what is now. It's like these
mm,
two polarizing energies in your chart.
mm,
Um, but yeah, so I'm really excited to read this book because it
mm,
seems like exactly with where I'm at right now,
mm.
something that could really help me, and I know probably a lot of our audience members. Dana,
And
did you
and
have a
in
question there?
general, well, I was just going to say, in human design, we talk about 2027, the year
Mm,
2027 being this huge initiation portal gateway into a new paradigm, a new way of seeing the world, a new evolution in our consciousness. So all of us in the last, few years on a global level have been feeling the old world crumbling, the old paradigm crumbling, and a new world being built. And we're moving closer to this initiation gateway. So in our personal lives, we all go through these times of challenge and change where we need to remember our connection to our soul. We need to remember that our soul chose this and that this is our soul's dream or our soul's
Mm,
plan. And
mm,
also, we chose to be born in a very pivotal moment
mm,
in humanity and in the path of our evolution. So not even just individually, also collectively, we're going
mm.
through a huge initiation
Huge.
gateway. And
Yeah.
so I'm really grateful for people to be able to learn from your wisdom because I do believe that we need to be anchored in our soul's knowing. We
Mm,
need to come back to that. Otherwise, it just feels so overwhelming to be navigating so much
mm,
change. I'm curious to ask you, even just the name, like your soul's dream, and you're living that. What does that mean to you? Because, of course, for us in human design, it's like your soul chose your design and your human
mm,
avatar and all of the different
mm,
soul contracts that you're going to experience that will help you unlock your gifts and move through any fear of sharing your true gifts.
mm.
But for you, what does it mean to be living your soul's dream?
Well, I think the title, Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It, is like this reminder to invite your soul to come all the way in. And I think particularly now, and particularly in times of change, which are now, collectively, individually, um, particularly those on a spiritual path, it's easy to just kind of like mm, bypass into the spirit or disconnect from the spirit and just live in the physical. And I think
Yeah.
ultimately what I'm trying to say with that title is that bring both here. Like your body is the container for your spirit. I come from similar cosmology beliefs of I believe our soul chose to be here in our ancestral line human design, astrology. Like it's like it weighted in my book Letters to a Starseed. There's a poem called The Moment of Your Birth, and it talks about how your soul waited in the cosmic void for the perfect time for your soul to be knitted into form. And I really believe that. And I also really want to acknowledge how full on this period is. And I think that part of us being here now is and I don't know exactly why this is happening, but what I have observed is that a lot of us who've been particularly on a spiritual journey, there is like a descent that is happening where whether it's ancestral healing, or you might have heard the term cycle breaker, where we are processing individually and collectively things that have not been able to be witnessed and felt and processed until now. And I'm sure that's going to continue. And, in another generation, there'll be something else, So it's not, oh, we're the special ones, but it's like something is happening now. And I want to urge us to be here now, even if it is difficult what you're going through, what you're feeling, and you're like, what is this? Is this mine? Is this the collective? But we're all, what I keep getting from my guides is that we each hold a thread for the healing of humanity. Don't underestimate the one that you're holding. And so it's just like, stay connected, stay embodied, invite your soul to come all the way in, and like follow those things that light you up, and be with the things that are difficult as well. Because when I had this mystical experience where and I've got a painting just behind me, if anyone's seeing this video, I'm sure some people will just be hearing it, but it's an illustration from my second deck, oracle deck, the Starseed Oracle. The artist for that deck was Danielle Noel, and the card is Fall Into My Arms, and it's based on this mystical experience I had where I saw the gates of life, the pathway that all souls enter and exit when we draw our first breath and exhale our last. And what I experienced when I had that mystical experience was how the extremes of life, the grief and the love, the ecstasy and the sorrow, all of that, the pain and the bliss, it's all part of the experience. And if we close our heart off to because of the grief or the sadness, then we won't be able to experience the joy as well. And our grief is evidence of how much we love. And so as difficult as it can be, and I think the human experience is not all sunshine and roses. It's just not. It's through the depth of life that we truly live. And so I think this book is about like following the dream that your soul had to fully live, to not shut down and let that hurt part of you overtake your life. Let yourself feel what you need to feel so that you can move through it to the dream, to the new spring,
Wow, that is so beautiful. It like almost brings tears to my eyes because I really feel, another thing we talk about in the new paradigm and our evolution of consciousness is the main zone of our energy body that is evolving is actually our emotional center. And also the same center is our spiritual center. So the more deeply we connect to our emotions and allow them to be fully experienced, embraced, that is what not only allows us to evolve on an individual level spiritually, but it's what helps us remember unity consciousness and oneness, because we realize that those emotional experiences of life are what we're here for. And it's what unites us and gives us more compassion and opens ourselves up to other people. And it's just so interesting because like my parents' generation, for Shane and I, are an era that's like, close down your emotions. Don't ever let someone know what you're feeling because that's unprofessional or it makes you look like you're out of control or you're irresponsible. Like all of those words are associated to being an emotional person or really feeling your feels. But it's like, this is the most human part of our experience. And, specifically what you said about our grief also being love. I've been really working with that recently and trying to remind myself that when I feel heartbreak about someone in my life that is getting older and is going to pass soon, or watching them, struggle with their health or things like that, that heartbreak that I feel or that grief and pain that I feel, I've been hearing my soul whisper to me, that is
Mm,
love. And
mm,
seeing it that way, the reason I feel this heartbreak is because I love you and I care about you
mm,
and I care about your suffering and I care about our connection. And it brings me so much depth and it moves me so deeply to love you. That's why I feel this grief. And that has been revolutionary for me because it's like cozy and safe and feels like home to know that like
mm,
all of those deep, challenging emotions or experiences, facing the unknown, the fear that comes with that, all of that comes from truly at the end of the day, love for life and love for one
mm,
another. And I feel like for me, that's been a message my soul has been trying to tell me. And I've been sort of shutting it out. And then now I'm actually listening. I can feel those whispers coming in stronger.
I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, Dana. Like, you know, I think a lot of us feel that with the collective and with the shifts that are happening and the overwhelm and like you're saying, Rebecca, like um the grief for the world, right? And the grief
Mm,
for like what we can't control and that it feels overwhelming. So we numb out or we turn off or we
mm,
ignore it. Or we go into this hate for life, right? Like
mm,
everything sucks. So there's no point in even trying and really reframing that as, oh, I'm actually have such a deep love for life. And that's why it's so hard for me to want to look at this or
mm,
want to acknowledge this or face this or honor this. And so
mm,
I think that's a really helpful way to just navigate as things are so changing every single day and there's more and
mm,
more information every single day and it's more and more overwhelming. Um it's really something that has been coming through for me a lot lately is that flips those two sides of the coin. Dana's heard me say this a few times this week in our readings, but um the one side feeling this deep love for life and that's why you want to make it better and that's why you want to um tweak it and really dive into it and see what you can work with there. And then on the flip side of that coin is feeling like life isn't perfect and nothing you do is going to make it better and it flips into
mm,
this hate for life and um feeling so overwhelmed by all the changes that need to be made or all of the things that are out of your control that you just feel like life sucks
mm,
and why am I here? And really knowing that they're both coming from this same energy in human design, it would be gate 58. But, um, this energy of wanting life to be better. And
mm,
how can we do that without feeling disempowered? Like, how are we empowered to make our life better? Whether that's through just having our own awareness of this, like,
mm,
oh, I'm swinging from one side to the other, or having awareness of the depth of love that you're here to able to access. I think a lot of people, and especially for non emotional beings like me or like you, Rebecca, it does take more intention um, to feel our emotions when the world is bombarding us with so much all of the time. It's easy for me to feel other people's emotions, and it's easy for me to have a lot of empathy and compassion for other people and what they're navigating in their heartbreak. But it's takes more intention for me to really feel the heartbreak or the agony or some of those more challenging emotions. I have to like have intention to really get the juice out of them or acknowledge them. It's so much easier for me to be like, okay, let me just move on and move past this. And I think a lot of people can really
mm.
resonate with that. Are there any tips or things that come up for you around anyone who might be feeling numb to their human experience
Yeah, so
to dive in deeper?
I think the main thing is to stay in the body and find ways to move that energy. So my favorite one, well, I've got two that I really, really like. One is dancing. And particularly if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like negative emotions, oh, I love dancing for that. Sia is my favorite artist for like big feelings, Florence and the Machine, that kind of thing. Put
Mm.
on a song and just like let your body move you because it knows how to process. And then the second one is like a standard one, particularly you've got a lot of stuff in your head, a lot of emotions kind of going round and round and round. Journaling, just like emptying it out. Often when we empty out enough, then the higher self, the soul, the connection to source will come through. But first
Mm.
it's like get it out, so you're not walking around with all that in your head. I love that.
Beautiful. I love that. Those are great things to, I think, work on too as spring is coming. It's like spring
Mm.
cleaning,
Yeah,
spring cleaning
agree.
within yourself. And if those big emotions come
Mm.
up, dance them out,
Mm.
express them out so that you have that spaciousness to connect with
Mm.
the new downloads, the new life that's being born. I love it so much. So
Mm.
this has been an amazing projector party. Every time we get to have three projectors in this, we just celebrate. It's like I always think of it as like us being like this triangle, and it just feels like this supportive structure where we feel so locked in and strong
Mm.
together. So I'm really grateful. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom with us. I think a lot of people are going to feel really inspired after this and be excited to dive into your book. So tell us a bit about where they can find your book and where they can connect with all of your other offerings.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, yeah, the book is Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. And it's on Amazon. It's on my website. I'm RebeccaCampbell.me. I'm also on Instagram, so you'll be able to find me there.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
I can't wait. I can't wait to
Thank
read it.
you.
And I'm just grateful for your work and the wisdom that you've channeled. I think that you helped a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun. Thank you.
We just loved that conversation. Honestly, I could have that go on for 2 more hours, but we had to keep it short and sweet. And I just had so many things I wanted to get into. But as always, you know where you can find us on our website, daylunalife.com, or our Instagram at dayluna. And if you are feeling called to get support through navigating a initiation right now or a transition that you're going through, a human design reading can be amazing. And for the first time in like years, months and months, I want to say, we have a space on our calendar for readings. Now that I am a little bit further into my postpartum journey, there's a little bit more space in our calendar. So if you have been feeling called to get a reading with us, you don't have to wait months and months for meeting and diving into your chart and getting whatever support that you're needing. And we'd be honored to meet with you. So you can check that out on daylunalife.com as well. And we hope that you just have an amazing soul seated rest of your day. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.